Hello, friends. I'm going to take a few minutes this morning to talk you through the first step in writing your essay. I want to give you the heads up that my family is right next to me and they're making breakfast, so if you hear some background noise, that's what that is. So we're going to start today in your first assignment, which is to write a 3-part claim and choose your evidence. So I am assuming that you've already done task 8A, which is to read those 5 articles, mark up the ideas that you're seeing for perspective 1 and for perspective 2, and also complete the chart that's part of text 5. So I'm assuming that you've already done that. Probably as part of that process, you've started thinking about your own perspective on this particular question. So once you have those read, I want you to start thinking about what your claim is going to be. You absolutely can and probably will go back and revise it at some point, but it's going to give you a strong foundation, so then you can then start making some additional choices in how you're going to put your essay together. I'm going to walk you through how I might think about this kind of a task. I have a different prompt that I'm going to use as an example, but this way it will help you think about how your own thinking process and how you make some decisions. In terms of what I'm actually asking you to submit here, you are going to open up a Word document, and in that Word document, you'll have your 3-part claim. That's going to be the claim that includes you can see right here, it includes the claim itself. That's your assertion, and it's your argument, it's your answer to the question. It's also going to include a counterclaim or a concession. It'll also include your direction. So remember, that's the reason that you believe that your perspective is the right one. And then right below your claim, you're just gonna, you put it in bullets if you want. You're just gonna include the evidence, the quotes that you plan to use in your essay. Remember, you need to use evidence from 3 different articles. So there are a total of 5 articles. You have to reference at least 3 of them. You can cite them just as text 1, text 2, text 3. That's fine. You do not need to do MLA citations for these. I recommend that at least 2 of your quotes support your claim or your argument, and then at least 1, maybe 2 that support your opposing perspective, so that you can demonstrate that you understand it fully. You might also want to, and actually you should, take a moment to read the full requirements for the essay itself. You probably already have an idea of it from the text that we read, but I have the full task here for you to review as well. So you can take a look at this. Included in here are the list of requirements and also the specifics of what I'm looking for to assess your writing. When I'm done here, I'll also put the rubric on Schoology, so you'll have access to that as well. So when it comes time to write your claim, I have a few things for you to look at. So I'm going to show you again how I would go through my own claim. I also have these non-examples and examples here for you to look at. So you might remember, you may have seen these before, but I'm going to show them to you one more time. There are some non-examples here. In other words, some claims that are not quite as strong as we want them to be. These examples are from Antigone, which you might remember. So these first few they're unclear, they're a little vague. The first one, while it's really important to honor your family, honoring the law is important too. I have an understanding generally of what this essay is about, but I'm having a hard time telling which side this person's on. I think they think that honoring the law is the side that they're on, but the language itself is just a little wishy-washy. I'm not sure. I don't feel really strongly certain that that's the side this person's on. I also don't know why they think they're right. There's no direction here. They simply say honoring the law is important. They don't say why it's important. I agree with Antigone because she's right. Right away, I know this isn't going to be a clear or a strong claim because when you're making a claim, you're stating it as though it's a fact. It's an assertion. Remember that rhetorical strategy. So you don't need to say, I agree with Antigone because she's right. You just say, Antigone is right. Antigone thinks the law doesn't have to be followed. Ismene thinks the law is put into place to protect us. Both of those are true statements. But neither of them tell us which side this person's on. I have no sense of what they're actually arguing. In this case, this person has merely summarized both sides instead of taking a side, and it's imperative, very, very important that you take a side. So we're going to go right ahead to the last three examples, and actually I'm going to pull them up on a different paper so I can mark them up for you. Ignore this for a second. Let me find them on my Word document. Oh, hold on. I'm going to pause for a second and go find it. Okay, I found them. So I put the two examples here so we could just take a moment and break down what we're looking at here. So remember, there are three parts to your claim, right? You have the claim itself. This is what you believe. It's the answer to the question. It's your assertion. It's the side that you're on. You also have your concession. Now remember, your concession is where you don't just tell us what other people think, the people who disagree with you. It's also where you acknowledge that there is some merit to their argument. So it's not enough to just say you know the other side. You have to acknowledge that that other side is complex and that there is some validity to it. And then the third part is your direction. We call it your direction because it's kind of like an arrow pointing to your evidence. It's the reason that you believe that you are right. And your evidence has to be directly related to that particular reason. So in this case, these three things are not always in this order. In fact, often the concession comes first. And so you'll see in this first example, while her desire to follow the law is practical, right? That's my concession. Acknowledging that, Ismene wants to follow the law, that is a very practical response. There's some merit to her following the law. We understand that she wants to follow the law. So even though we disagree with her, we are able to show some compassion for that other side. It shows that we have some complexity to our argument. And then the second part says, Ismene's unwillingness to do what's right makes her a coward. So by calling her a coward, stating that she's a coward, that's me making my claim. That's my assertion. She is a coward. Why do I think she's a coward? What's the reason that she's a coward? She's unwilling to do what's right. So that part there is my direction. So notice it does not follow this same 1, 2, 3 order, but all three parts are included there. I could have easily have just said, while her desire to follow the law is practical, she's a coward because she's unwilling to do what's right. So they can go in other orders. These are just the examples. So again, what I want you to do right now is just pause the video, take a moment, look at this example right here and decide where's the claim, where's the concession, where's the direction. So pause right now, take a quick moment to do that. Okay, so now that you've done that, I'm going to show you my answers. So again, the concession's at the beginning. That's often where it is. It's the most common place for it. It starts with that word despite. That's a great word to put in your back pocket. Same with while. Even though, although, these are great transition words to start your concession. Despite the pride Antigone will feel as a result of her actions. There's my concession. And then her love of family and faith drives her decisions, which makes her a hero. So makes her a hero is my claim. She is a hero. And why is she a hero? Because of her love of family and faith driving her decisions. That's the reason I believe I'm right. That is my direction. So when you go to create your own three-part claim, these are the three things that you need to include in it. Okay, one more thing before we're done. So as you start thinking about what your claim should actually be, you need to really think about the evidence that you have in front of you. It's very possible that you have, and I'll explain why you have pizza in front of you in just a second. It's very possible that you have your own immediate reactions. You really loved the book and therefore you think it should be read. You really hated the book. You thought it was boring. You think it shouldn't be read. But I'm not asking you for your own personal response, although certainly there's a place for that in your essay. That is not where your evidence should come from. So in an essay like this, I'm asking you to evaluate your own thinking, evaluate the text through a very particular lens. So you remember we talked about that the other day. part of what we're doing with synthesis is using one text to look at another text. It's a lens, just like glasses, right? So it's like I'm putting a text on my face and I'm looking at the other text with this lens in mind. The lens I'm asking you to look at To Kill a Mockingbird with is not your own personal reaction to it, just your personal experience to it, but it's the specific criteria and standards that Brighton Central School District has put into place that says all text should be these things. That's the lens that you're looking at. And so as you're reading through the other articles and you're considering the evidence and your position, you got to think about how it actually contributes to that particular set of criteria that Brighton Central Schools has set forth. So that does not mean that there is already an answer. This is a really complex issue and both sides have a lot of merit to it. So then you have to decide which side is the one that's the most valuable to you. So for instance, I imagine that the question I'm answering is, should pizza be included in school lunches, right? I love pizza. It is one of my favorite foods. Everyone in my family loves pizza. And so if I were just answering this based on my own perspective, I'd say yes, include some pizza in school lunches. It's delicious. It makes me feel good. It's great comforting food. I love eating it in the wintertime, and when it's rainy, it's fabulous, right? But pizza is not included in school lunches because it makes people feel good and because people like the way it tastes, right? Decisions on school lunches are not made just based on preference. There are specific guidelines. There are minimum standards of nutrition that lunches need to meet. And that's what you're looking at in front of you, right? These are minimum standards of nutrition right here. Meals must meet both minimum and maximum calorie requirements. Bread products must be at least 50% whole grain, and you see the rest of the list there. And so what I have to do is take what I know about pizza, maybe learn a little bit more about pizza than just my own perspective, and measure it against these particular standards. And so when I go to create my claim, the reason I believe I'm right has to relate to these particular standards. I can't say pizza should be included in school lunches because it tastes good and it makes me feel comforted and warm and tingly inside. Because look, it's not listed there among my standards. And so what I then do is I read a couple texts. I've got two texts here. I'm not going to read them right now. One criticizes schools and the guidelines for including pizza as a healthy option. This one is written by this one is an opinion piece, but it does pull in some specific evidence from some experts. And the second text discusses the importance of choosing some foods that kids will actually eat. And it also discusses how pizza can be made in such a way that it is a little more healthful. And this one is written by a nutritionist, so she's a little bit of an expert in this particular field. And so as I'm reading these texts, I'm reading it with this lens in mind. So I love pizza, but after I read these texts, I realize, maybe it should not be included as an option in school lunches. Like maybe it's just something I eat occasionally and we don't include it. And so then when I go to write my claim, I might say something like, while pizza is a much loved food that most young people enjoy eating, it should not be included in school lunches because, and now I'm referencing these specific criteria, and I'm also looking specifically at text 1 and looking at the reasons that text 1 specifically cited. And then I might say something like, it does not meet the minimum standards for health and reinforces unhealthy eating habits. Now, this first one certainly corresponds directly to the criteria up here. And this second one actually goes a step further, and it gave me something else to think about. It's related to some evidence in this particular, this particular source. And so this is the working claim right here that I am going to work with. Okay, so now it is time for you to write your own claim and start thinking about the evidence you're going to choose. There's one more quick video for you to watch regarding your evidence. It's shorter than this one, don't worry. All right, see you later.